Hey, high rollers, we've got a treat for you today. A guy who certainly knows his poker and his chess, too. He's an international master at check and checkmate. And you might say he's a master at check and check raise as well. Publisher, player, instructor, and author of 3 poker books. The first, How Good Is Your Limit Hold'em, received critical acclaim as being one of the first to clearly define how a successful poker player thinks. Co-owner of D&B Books, and he comes to us today from across the pond. Byron Jacobs. Byron, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being our high roller today, man.
It's very nice to be here. Thanks for asking me along.
In one of your bios online, it says you're a specialist in games and leisure. That sounds like a pretty good gig. Like any kid, I assume you started playing games very early on in life?
Yeah, I mean, chess is my first love. I was fascinated by chess when I was a kid, and I got to be quite strong over a period of time and eventually ended up with the International Master title. But then, I started working as an adult, and then poker came online in, 2001, something like that, and I became fascinated by playing poker. It was like kind of, an opportunity to rediscover the thrill of learning a game that I had as a kid with chess. So I really got into it quite a lot, and have been ever since, and it's been really fun.
Now, to become an international master at chess, you have to be very, very good, because there's only one above that, and that's Grand Master. Poker and chess, are there similarities between the two? Chess seems like a game where you've got to have a good memory and study the opening moves and then sort of think 5 moves ahead. Is that poker in a nutshell as well?
There are definite similarities between chess and poker, I would say, and there are also areas of both of the games that are completely dissimilar. For example, one thing that, it's not only me as a chess player who's moved into poker in the last kind of decade or so. A lot of my contemporaries in chess have actually become quite decent poker players now as well. Now, one of the things that definitely transfers very well from chess to poker is the ability to think ahead. And I think chess players probably have this comes more naturally to them than to players who've picked up poker and not played any other games before. So, like for example, when the flop comes down and we're looking at it and maybe the guy raises or we're in position, it's our turn to bet or something. My immediate instinct is to think, okay, well, if I bet here and he raised, what will I do? What will I do? And what will I do on the next street? What will I do if the flush card comes? What will I do if an overcard? I'm always kind of, because chess teaches you that, because it's not just what you do, it's what's going to happen in the next 3 or 4 moves, and that's very useful to transfer that to poker, because obviously a poker decision, whether you're betting, raising, it shouldn't be taken in a vacuum. You should consider, what's going to happen in the future of the hand. And I think chess players find that perhaps a little bit more natural than maybe players who've come fresh to the game. So that's one thing that definitely transfers across. The thing that chess players find really difficult with poker is that you can play well for day after day, month after month, and lose. That's really hard. That's hard for anybody, but chess, if you play well, 95% of the time you're either going to win or at the very least get a good result. Of course, we all know that doesn't happen in poker. You can play well for ages and ages, and conversely, you can play badly and win. So the feedback loop is not clear in poker, whereas it is much more in chess. So that's just a couple of examples of things that do and don't transfer, I think.
Now, before we talk about your upcoming project with Chris Moorman, you mentioned something there about poker players going months on end, maybe a year and a half or so, without winning, right? They're playing for the big score. They're trying to, stay above water in between, but a lot of poker is losing. Your first book, How Good Is Your Limit Hold'em, sort of talks about how a successful poker player thinks. You are with these guys. You hang with these guys on the circuit. Can you tell our listeners how tough it is to play tournament poker? Yes, we see the guys winning millions of dollars, but that's few and far between, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't actually play live. I play online. I talk to players who play live and deal with them a lot and do books about live play and stuff like that. But from a personal point of view, I only really play online. I think if you're a tournament poker player and you specialise obviously in playing tournaments, I think even if you look at it mathematically, you're much more vulnerable to having to being unsuccessful with a terrible run of cards over a period of time, because obviously you're going to be now and again you're going to be playing for the big money and things won't go your way. Whereas if you're playing maybe SMGs or cash games day in, day out, you're probably slightly less vulnerable to the assuming you're a winning player, to the vagaries of luck, but you're still going to be vulnerable to some degree.
Co-owner of D&B Books, Byron Jacobs, our guest today. Okay, you've written for Card Player Magazine, 2+2 Poker Strategy. You've got a new project on the go. You've teamed up with one of the fiercest poker players on the planet in Chris Moorman. I mean, this guy is good. Talk about getting the money. It's a new book project. It's called Moorman's Book of Poker. Can you tell us about that and how it came to be?
Yeah, what we're trying to do with this book is obviously Chris, as everybody knows, is a fantastically strong player and the biggest online winner ever. And my background is that in poker I played limit hold'em. That was my initial area of expertise. But that game has pretty much died, I think, over the last 2 or 3 years. So I've kind of moved into trying to play tournament poker. Now I don't play anywhere near full time, but I love playing and I love studying the game. And I try my best to try and improve. I play like a kind of a sort of serious hobby, maybe sort of 7 to 10 hours a week, something like that. I mean, nowhere near as much as the hardened professionals or kids out of high school might be playing. But I really like the game, and I play quite well at tournaments with buy-ins of around $30, $50, maybe sometimes a little higher. At those tournaments, I'm sort of moderately successful. But obviously, this is low to mid stakes compared with the kind of stuff that Chris would be playing. Now, what we thought would be interesting to do would be to look at some of the hands that I've played in these tournaments, and I would kind of express what I was thinking about what I was doing in these hands and what was going on. And then Chris steps in as like the coach, if you like, and says, okay, that's all right, but you also need to be thinking about this, and in a high level game this would be happening, and you ought to. So players who play at my level, and I think there's probably quite a lot of players who are serious players who are around my level, can really have their game hauled up by someone who's thinking 3 or 4 levels above that, and I think that would be interesting. It was a choice between doing that and Chris just speaking purely about his own games that he's played and his own hands and his own decisions, and of course that would be a great book too. But sometimes I think the strong players just talking about their own hands, it's a little bit of a leap for the players who are lower down to really kind of understand what they're talking about. So with him kind of dropping down a little bit and looking at the kind of mistakes that I would be making, we thought would be more interesting. And so that's what we're trying to do with the book.
Well, I think that will be very interesting because I was going to say, one thing I've noticed about poker books is this, and I'll use myself as an example, as you just did for you. I'm an avid poker player, probably just like you, play as much as I can. I follow the game, love the game, but I don't read strategy books. I prefer books about the history of the game. Like I just finished Amarillo Slim in the World of Fat People. There's one I'm reading right now by Des Wilson, Ghosts at the Table. I find strategy books, and I don't think I'm alone here, to be sometimes very complicated and over my head. So I think the strategy you've taken is very interesting because it's aimed sort of at guys like me, isn't it?
Yeah, hopefully, yeah, because what we're thinking is that, the vast majority of players who are kind of serious about their game, without being fantastically strong, this is the kind of level that we're trying to appeal to, because obviously, apart from anything else, there's a big market at that level. So, those kind of players might be buying our book.
Well, listen, Chris Moorman is a fantastic player. For those who don't know, this guy is the all-time money winner online, more than $10 million, maybe more than 11 now, I don't know. I must say, he would not have been my first guess for that distinction when you think of best online money winners, but there he is, Chris Moorman. And it shows you what kind of player he really is. World-class, folks. Second at the 2011 World Series of Poker Europe main event, numerous final tables at the WSOP, 20 cashes, and, am I correct in this, Byron, 2 World Poker Tour titles, including the most recent LA Poker Classic, which just happened at the legendary Commerce Casino?
Certainly, the last one, that's definitely correct. I think your statistics are correct, but Chris will be able to clarify those, or you can probably find them online. But as far as I'm aware, I think what you said is correct.
Yeah, the point is the guy's very good. And here's a stat I find interesting. Moorman has finished in the top 3 of a tournament. Top 3, that's where the money is, close to 600 times. So you've really teamed up with a great partner, and this should be a fantastic project.
Yeah, obviously we're thrilled to have Chris working on the book with us. And another thing, obviously the book's in an early stage at the moment, but we've already accumulated a fair amount of material. And one thing that is great about Chris is that not only does he kind of play really well, but also he's very good at explaining what his thoughts are, what he's thinking about, what the relevant features, what the key indicators in a hand are. It's not like he's holding anything back. He's very keen to express himself, his thoughts, as well as he can, and he does this very well. So not only is he an excellent player, but he's an excellent person to learn from at the same time. So he kind of it's like killing two birds with one stone with him. It's really good because I've read, no doubt other people have as well. So I won't name them, but some of the other top players have churned out books, and I've looked through them, and it's kind of like they can't be bothered. They're just doing it because someone said, "Hey, write a book for us, man," and the guy comes along and he just kind of shoves some stuff down, and there's nothing very deep or very interesting happening. It's kind of not worth it. They've obviously done it in a very half-hearted way, but we feel that's absolutely not going to be the case with Chris. He's very committed to this, and he wants to help people to understand poker and improve their game. And so we're really optimistic about the production of the book and the quality of the material we're going to have.
Byron Jacobs of D&B Books, a very successful company. You've tied yourself in with some big names. Chris Moorman, of course, with the offering that you're going to have out soon, Moorman's Book of Poker, but also Jonathan Little, a guy you mentioned earlier on. This guy is a killer at the table, and he's writing books for you now as well? Tell us about the company.
Yeah, John Little's probably our main poker author at the moment. I mean, he's written 4 books for us, 3 of which are already out. It's like it's in the series Secrets of Tournament Poker, and he's written 3 books, explaining his approach to tournament poker. And these are in general not based around hands that he's played at the table. Although in fact the third one is, because it's a kind of quiz book where you're put in his shoes and you've got to work out what to do. But essentially, he's giving us his philosophy of the game and how to play, certain hands at certain different stack sizes, at certain different table sizes, at certain different stages of the tournament, stuff like that. And he's also co-written another book on the psychology of poker, and he's also doing a 2-volume series on cash play, no limit cash play. And the first one he's already delivered, and we're producing it at the moment. The second one will be out towards the end of the year. So he's very prolific. He writes very well, and his books are very well respected. And we're doing very well with those two. So we're hopefully roping in some quality players into our stable of authors, and it's all going well at the moment.
Well, you used a good word there, prolific, for Jonathan Little, a former guest of the show. And if you'd like to hear that interview, just click our interviews tab and you'll find it there on the menu. Okay, I like to ask our guests about the state of poker. I mean, the game has certainly exploded in the past decade. Any issues that you think need addressing nowadays? Everything good in poker, or does the game need some minor tune-ups?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, obviously there's the whole American thing, but since I'm based in the UK, I only kind of read snippets of it online occasionally. I believe that 3 states are now back. You're able to play. You're able to play online poker, I think, in 3 states, and I think there's about 10 others that are kind of toying with the idea, but obviously there's a long way to go before, not statewide, the whole of the country comes back online as far as poker's concerned. So that's obviously a big issue, because that takes a huge number of players out of the player pool, and diminishes the volume of play that can be made around the world. Other stuff, it would be kind of nice if there was 1 or 2 other sites that could challenge the kind of the full tilt PokerStars dominance of the online game, because I think they have huge lion's share of the play.
Yeah, it's almost like a monopoly, and I think you're right. If we had some more competition, it would spread it out a bit and make it more interesting and maybe better for the players as a whole. Listen, it's called Moorman's Book of Poker. Prove your game with Moorman1. That's his online handle, by the way, Moorman1. The guy's a killer, the biggest online player in poker history. Co-author of the book is Byron Jacobs, our guest today from D&B Books. Byron, a real pleasure, man. Thanks for being a high roller. We really appreciate it.
Thanks very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I hope that everyone will go along to our site, dnbpoker.com, and they'll be interested in our books that we've got there. And we also have a lot of online stuff like ebooks and books that you can get in the Kindle format, and PDFs of books and stuff like that. We've also got some videos, and they're all sold from our site. So I hope you don't mind that little plug for us there.
Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not, Byron. We're going to put the link to your site on the page, so if anyone wants to visit, just click that link and you'll see all the great stuff over at D&B Books. Byron Jacobs, thanks so much, man.
Thanks very much. It's been fun talking to you. Cheers.